Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the full moon circle for the eclipse in Pisces. It is September 8th, 2025. I always want to say 2000 with no 20 and a 5. Why is it always 20 years earlier when I have to say the year? I don't know, but I got it right. Welcome, welcome, and we made it. We made it. We are now in eclipse season. And for those of you that, don't know what that is, I believe, well, I don't know about Jen, but I would assume with your association with Shelley present here also that you're a little familiar with the moon and the moon cycles and all that sort of thing. But I'm going to share with you my understanding as it stands for me right now, because it also, for me, working with the moon and continuing to think about it, it's like an ongoing download of um, sort of these universal truths and information that really helps to guide my life. So I hope that what I share will hit you where it needs to hit you and help you with guiding your life. So let's anchor ourselves here in this present moment, which is we just had a full moon in Pisces. And eclipse aside, a full moon in Pisces, um, Pisces is I would describe it as the energy is like dissolving into the oneness. It is the ocean, it is the water, it is surrender, it is dreams, it is illusions, it is connecting to into your intuition. And in some ways, it's it's starts to connect with what's going on in the unconscious, which from a moon standpoint is interesting for me thinking about the full moon, which is part of that very conscious experience. So let me just back up and go over. We've got that new moon, and that new moon, if you imagine the cycle of the moon, I always wish that I just screen share so I could do a little visual, but hopefully you can follow me. Imagine that cycle of the moon, and we start with that new moon, and it's dark and it's unknown, and it's some people call it the wild unknown. It's the unknown unknown in that dark space, but it's also where we get to plant our seeds and intentions. And that is the beginning of that cycle. So the seed drops into that new moon time, into that dark soil of that unknown, and then it starts growing. So, whatever the seed of our intention is, it starts to grow and it starts to gain momentum. And then eventually it comes into full light. Now, what I'm describing here, it is the first step of what I call the creation cycle. And I believe that part of my experience in this world has shown me that everything in this world exists in this creation cycle. Now, of course, we have cycles within cycles. We can see that in the way that the moon cycles move through the year, but as do the cycle of the seasons. So the new moon relates to that winter solstice time where it is very dark. It's the darkest, most dark that we get for that year, depending on where we are in the world. Of course, some places get more dark as the most dark that they get. But it is that time of the year where it's dark and things are maybe quieting down. And then fast forward to that summer solstice time where we have so much sunlight. That is the full moon time of the year. And then it comes back down into that winter time. So even in that year cycle, we have all those cycles of the moon as well. And I really see in my life that everything in this world exists in that cycle. For example, right now in this moon circle experience, we are in that waxing crescent. So before we started this meeting, we were in that new moon time, and then we have begun. Then this thing that was an idea that I had and that you had because you showed up, but it hadn't actually happened yet. It hadn't actually existed in material reality. It began, and that is that new moon time. So I share all that to fast forward to that full moon time, which with the lunar cycle, that is where we are right now. So we are in a time of the greatest luminosity of this full moon cycle. So that's, and when you are in the most luminosity of the full moon cycle, it's like everything is coming into light. We can see what is actually going on in material reality. Also, it is a call to pause. The new moon and the full moon are punctuation marks in time. So they give us a moment to pause and come into, hi, Penny, come into this moment right now and see what is actually going on. You know what it's like if you're looking, when you're like, "Hey, where's my phone?" and you're in bed and it's dark. You don't know where you are, and you don't know where it is, and you're reaching around and you're reaching around. And then you turn on the light and you can kind of see everything and you're like, "Oh, it was right there. I had no idea." That's what this moment is in the lunar month for us. And so, in general, it's a great time to sit and pause and reflect on what have I accomplished? And those of you that have been with me before, we also call this celebrating wins. What is going well? What is going right for me right now? What am I celebrating? Especially if you had set a particular intention with the new moon and planted that seed, even if it's not done yet. And I think this is a really important part for me that has helped with working with the moon. Even if whatever it was that I had intended to do with the lunar cycle, if it isn't done yet, that's totally fine. I can still take a moment right now and say, hey, what have I done? And what have I learned? So even if, things like totally got sidetracked and went haywire, there's probably something that you've learned in that process. So if you leave here with anything, know that this is a great time to just ask yourself those questions about a particular thing or just about your life in general right now. What am I celebrating? What have I accomplished? And what have I learned? Because especially that what you have learned will help you in the next half of the cycle. So we're moving into a time of the cycle where the light of the moon is going to be diminishing, which means we're starting to dip back into that place of the unconscious to go back to the ground and back. It's like the seed grows the flower, which is like where we're at now. And then the flower drops those seeds again and goes into that space of the unknown. So we're preparing for that right now. Okay, but what happens when we go, okay, I get it. I'm looking at this place in time where I can kind of like get a sense of what's going on in my life. I can work a little bit more with my conscious mind, see what's happening in material reality. But with the influence of Pisces, this is where it feels really interesting for me right now because Pisces, it is kind of connected to that unconscious. It's connected to those dreams. It's connected to um, these things that are unseen. So there's a little bit of a pull there with that. So maybe this moon is highlighting things that you've learned or things that you've accomplished that deal with the realm of the unseen or things that you've been dreaming of, or maybe you feel a little bit more connected to your intuition and maybe those messages from the unconscious are actually coming through more strongly, more obviously because of this full moon time right now. Um, we've got that going on. And then before I talk about the eclipse, I just really want to also mention another thing for me that is interesting with this moon. And there are other things going on in the sky, but I don't want to go on forever. And I just really want to highlight this other aspect of our stars and our planets right now is that Saturn has come back into Pisces. So Saturn is hanging out with this full moon in Pisces. And Saturn is like bringing the structure, it's bringing the discipline, it's bringing a little bit more information that can help you actually take these dreams and these ideas and all these things that exist in that like water of oneness again to life. So Saturn is like about making commitments. It's kind of the opposite in a lot of ways, but I feel like this is a time right now where it's almost like there's a portal, and this is leading into the eclipse. It's like there's this portal that has opened up that allows us to, in a time of conscious awareness, dip into the unconscious. So yoga nidra is coming up in my mind. If you've ever done yoga nidra, which is a type of really deep rest, and it, you, I mean, of course, I think some of you are probably like me in that it can actually make you fall asleep. But really, the true practice of yoga nidra, as I understand it, is about remaining conscious and aware as you go into this very deep, relaxed state. That is kind of the energy for me of what's going on in the planets right now. And what can happen is some really deep healing and access to really deep love. I was reading something earlier today about Pisces, and one of the messages that it has is about the power of love, which is relates to that idea of oneness that we get with sort of this dissolving. There's a dissolution that can happen with Pisces, and I think the trick is to not fall into the illusion. We can start to maybe like see things not exactly as they, or be deluded, right? Like not actually be in touch with material reality. But this is a time where we have a grasp, and we'll do a visualization later that I hope will help you kind of get in even deeper contact with that. Now, so all of this is going on, and we have begun eclipse season. I believe it's two eclipses in a row. Sometimes we get three, but right now it's, I think most commonly they come in pairs. And this is what's happening now. So we will have another eclipse with the new moon in Virgo in 2 weeks. And there's a lot of lore about eclipses. And in general, I would just think of this as a time of really deep change, and change that happens over time. I mean, of course, sometimes maybe something really dramatic happens and it's like, whoa, okay, like now I'm doing this other thing. And certainly that can happen with an eclipse, but eclipses also happen over long periods of time. So this is the second chapter in a story that was started back in September with an eclipse in Pisces, and will continue on over the next year or two. So we've got some time with this storyline of these Pisces eclipses. And I personally always like to look at what house these are for me. That's a little bit more like specific in advanced astrology. But if you're into that and hadn't thought about that yet, certainly go look at your what house Pisces is in for you and what this might be relating to for you. But just in general, it's a good time to slow down and take a deep breath, and really double down on what it is that grounds you. So eclipses can be very like jarring, and I don't I don't want to quite say the word disturbing, but it can really like shock your system. And so, and then Pisces is not the most grounded of signs, right? Thank goodness we've got Saturn there to kind of like help us. I almost think of Saturn as like having the bumpers for it's like the two Pisces fish are swimming around each other, and Saturn's like, okay, okay, like herding, chickens or something. Just trying to get them to, nobody's going to be in a line. These ducks are, not in a row, but they can at least kind of be going a little bit in the same direction while they're still embodying that creative energy. So yeah, I I'm going to let all of that just sort of swim around for you right now. And we're going to start to shift gears. That was a lot of information. I hope it wasn't too like fire hosey for you. Um, and if it was, don't even worry about it, because the real wisdom comes in what you receive within. So let's do a short practice here together. So if you haven't gotten comfortable, or as comfortable as you can be with where you're at right now, I invite you to shift, to move, to rearrange your body in a way that feels good. And if you would like to close your eyes, please feel free. If you'd like to go off camera, also totally, please feel free. Those of you that are live. And we're going to start to tune in to the rhythm of your breath. So don't worry about doing it right or wrong, or changing it, or the thoughts that arise as you quiet down and settle down. Just start to notice the ebb and flow of your breath in your body. And you might also think about it in terms of the flowing of the lunar cycle. So, for example, beginning on an inhalation, thinking about that as that new moon and then waxing moon time, and inhaling and drawing in more air, taking a deeper breath, and then getting to that point where you are as full as you can get. And that is that full moon of your breath. You're at that peak, and then start the release of the exhalation, breathing out and going to that place of where you are entirely empty and there's nowhere to go but to breathe in again. And this cycle of the breath is another one of these cycles of creation that are in our lives and in our days. The cycles within cycles that keep your life moving forward, keep you growing and healing. And this cycle of beginning from nothing and then growing and getting to a point of a fullness of expression, like the top of the inhalation, and then the release and the letting go and the going back to nothing. This is the creation cycle that is with you all the time, that you come from, that everything and everyone in your life comes from and goes back to again. It is one thing that connects us all. And then start to think of a body of water that you love. I mean, it can be the ocean, a river, a lake, a pool, a spring, any body of water, real or imagined. And imagine yourself in that body of water. You can be on a float or swimming, but somehow be in the water. And maybe even imagine your body moving with the water, swimming or dancing or just being gently pulled one way or the other. You can even sway your body or move in a way that feels good. And feel yourself enveloped in any way that feels comforting to you in this water. And what it feels like to just be suspended, almost like returning back to the womb. And just notice what that feels like and how your body feels. And then begin to imagine the edge of this water. So if it's a natural body of water, the shore or the riverbank, or if you're in a pool, the edge of the pool, something just a little bit more solid. And if it's far away, just imagine yourself easily floating towards it, or you can imagine yourself swimming towards it, or just being pulled to that edge where the water meets the land. And then imagine yourself in that liminal space, maybe sitting on the beach where you can still feel the waves, but you also feel that solid ground underneath you. Maybe you're sitting on the steps of the pool or the rocks in the riverbed. But feel yourself someplace where you are connected to the water and yet still on solid ground. Noticing that feeling of connection with support, where you feel connected to everything else, and yet you're solid within yourself. And then if this feels good to you, know that this is a place you can come back to at any time. So we're going to bring that feeling of feeling connected and feeling supported back to this present moment here together. And taking in a nice deep breath again, starting to feel your body here in the room that you're in the space that you're in. Maybe even begin to roll the shoulders or move the arms or move your body in space. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and coming back to this room. And feel free to write down any insights that you had while you were there. And I will also leave with you a question. What is ready to be released, let go, or put down before you commit to your next creative endeavor? What is ready to be released, let go, or put down before you commit to your next creative endeavor? So I'll give you a few moments to do some journaling on that. And I'll send this question out in the replay email if you want to hear it again, as well as a few other questions that you can use to think about. But I also want to leave you with the very simple ritual that I recommend if you would like to ritualize your answer. And that is to write your answer of what it is that you're ready to be released. You can use the sentence stem if it's helpful. I am releasing whatever it is so that I can make room for whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, of course you can release old beliefs, thought patterns, people, commitments, things in your life. I mean, whatever it is that's coming to you, this is a really great time to just affirm that you are clearing this space. And of course, if you want to work with the new moon in 2 weeks, that will be a great time to recommit or commit to your next creative endeavor or whatever it else is that you would like to seed for the next lunar cycle, if that is something that interests you. I want to leave you also with so I've been working on this project of teaching essential oils, using essential oils through the phases of the moon. And I'll probably be sharing so much more about this in the coming weeks. But I've been working on and reviewing so much material, and I realized that I was unintentionally this weekend working with an essential oil ylang, which I just realized today is one of the oils I identify as relating to the full moon. And it's a really beautiful oil, and one of the things that it shares, the one of the messages that I feel with ylang is about opening yourself to love, which relates to this Pisces moon. But the affirmation that I work with ylang is all I desire is here already. And I just felt called. I'm actually sitting here with a laying on a little cotton pad. So if you like ylang and work with ylang, this is a great time to do it. But yeah, I just really felt called to share this affirmation that all I desire is here already. And I think that sometimes when we have these dreams and these creative endeavors, and even when we have the structure from Saturn to create them in our lives, it it is sometimes nice to know that it is here already. And so I don't know if that's something that somebody here needed to hear, but I just felt really called to share that with you all. So I'm going to press stop on the record and say goodbye to our everybody watching the replay here. So if you're here live, please feel free to stick around, and we can just have a little bit of sharing and all of that. So thank you so much for coming and taking this time to be here with me and also be here for yourself. It is so easy, and I mean, it's easy for me in my life to not take time to slow down and pause. And I kind of literally help you all do this for a living. And I also find it challenging. So I can imagine that that may be the case for you. So I just, I'm really grateful that you are here and taking this time. And I hope that it brought you all the gifts because you definitely deserve them. I'll see you all next time.